welcome to the channel. My name is Ryan Hebert, and this is where I share my insights. And today I'm talking about thinking. Do our thoughts cause suffering? You may have heard other spiritual teachers say to you that thinking causes suffering. In the same way that the manifestation gurus say that if you think about it, it will transform into reality. This would imply that a thought has power. A power to create, a power to harm, a power to do something. And I just don't see it. I don't see how my thoughts contain power. And I want to sort of simplify it a little bit and say that there is only one source. In thinking that thinking is the source is not quite right. Thinking is not the source. The source is the source. The source of that thought is what contains the power, not the thought itself. It contains a kind of power, but real power is at the beginning. Because I can still suffer and not be thinking. I can be in a meditative state and still feel like shit. Because it implies if I stop thinking, then I'll feel better. That not thinking is the power of happiness. And not thinking in its own domain is simply not thinking. That's removed from the source. That suffering is just suffering. And it comes from the same place as thinking. And it comes from the same place as power. And that I am that source. And you've also perhaps heard from spiritual teachers that you are everyone. That the appearance of multiplicity is an illusion of oneness. How do we know this stuff? You must intuit the entire universe by paying attention to just yourself. That's how Einstein learned so much about the universe, is by paying attention to himself. He intuited these things by thinking about himself. I'm sure of it. And the more you pay attention to yourself as the microcosm, you can get insight into the macrocosm. So how is multiplicity like this? Let's take writing as our example. I love to write. When you are writing, you embody in the domain of writing, you embody just writing is just writing. So you can say you are the writer. Then you go back a few minutes later and you read as if you didn't write. And now you are the reader and you react to what the writer did. And you say, oh, that was crap. So now you become the critique and the editor and the reconstructor. So you rewrite, you redo. Or you trash it all together. You become the destroyer. It just depends on the function of what you're doing. But you always go back to the source and refresh and become a new thing. When you're cooking a meal, you're the cook. You're kind of in that zone. Then you sit down to eat your own cooking, you become the critic. And you praise or you destroy. You throw the food away and you become the destroyer. So you embody all of these things because you have forgotten that you were the cook. You have forgotten you were the writer. And sometimes as you're playing this duplicitous trick with yourself, playing all these different roles, you must take on forgetfulness. You have to forget that you wrote that. I go back and look at stuff I wrote 5 years ago, and sometimes I think, oh, that's total garbage. Or, that's not so bad. Who wrote that? I don't even remember writing it. I don't remember what I wore a week ago. And then, conversely, if you go back into your mother's attic and you find an essay that you wrote in the 3rd grade, it's charming. So the further back you go, the less connected you are to it. But you did that. You wrote that 5th grade essay about how much you love your mother. Or some silly little thing that was just so honest. You can see the honesty in it as you get further and further away from it. I was in the 5th grade 40 years ago. I have no recollection of writing that. I have a few vague memories, but I did it all. I was there throughout all of that. I was the source of it. And I can go back because there's such a forgetfulness that settles in on me. But the evidence is there. I had my name on it, Ryan A. Baer, 5th grade essay. It's my big old handwriting. In much the same way as that you are so far removed from the source of time itself, the universe began 13.4 billion years ago. You can't remember what you ate 4 days ago. How could you remember that you started the Big Bang? How could you remember how you flung the stars into space when you can't even remember what you wore 2 days ago? So there's this wonderful thing called forgetfulness that settles in on us in this cloud of ignorance that settles in and allows you to see things for the first time. Welcome to who you are. You're the source forgetting. You did it, and you're the culprit, and you're wondering, how did this happen to me? How did I find myself in this body and in this life? I don't know. It happened so long ago. I have forgotten that I'm the source. But you have to go back to sort of the basics of all of this, which is that the source of thinking is the same as the source of suffering, which is the same as the source of peace, which is the same as the source of all life itself. You see, everything goes back to the source. But many of us don't go far enough back. We think that the source of our life is a sex act that our parents performed. And that is not entirely true. Because there are no separate events, you have to link it all together to the beginning of time. And when you go that far back, before you were even born, it is nothing but a black hole. So the veil has opened up in you, a little aperture has opened up in you, called this moment, and it's past and future are sort of around it like this, and as you travel, it sort of hovers over a little aperture that doesn't open. Spiritual awakening is the aperture opening up in this dimension. That you're everything. And you can see from the beginning of time and to the end of time in some realm that seems to be out of this world. That's what happens. It's like looking through a pair of glasses and then all this melts away. But you're still here. Your sense of awareness goes beyond your forgettery, and you just realize, okay, I must be responsible for it all. And so-called spiritual seeking is like Sherlock Holmes. You'll start off like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to find this. And Sherlock Holmes is on the trail. He keeps looking around, keeps probing into source, going deeper and deeper and deeper into history and time until Sherlock Holmes realizes that the perpetrator, the culprit, the one responsible is him. That's it. Straightforwardly, I am the source. In the same way as I am the source of that 5th grade essay, I can't remember it. I can't remember being in a baby body. But that little boy that popped out of my mother 50 years ago is me. I have no recollection of the delivery room, nothing, but I was there. I cried, I pooped, I peed, I suckled on my mother's breast, and I have no recollection of it. But that was me. In the same way that I started the Big Bang, that I was there when time began, and that I am the Ancient of Days, immortal, invisible, God only wise, that has shrouded himself in something called a forgettery, so that he might, or I might, experience life as if I never knew it. I can intuit all of this by going within. I can understand multiplicity by understanding that in my own life. I can understand spiritual seeking by understanding that I am pointing to myself. And I can understand the beginning of time in the same way I can understand looking at my 5th grade essay, wondering, who wrote that? You trace the evidence, and it will bring you back to root source, which is the I am that I am, which is you and me. Now, what good does that do? Somehow it frees you. It frees you from thinking you are only the individual. You may have heard somebody say that to you in a spiritual teaching. You're not the body. You're not the individual. You're not your story. Wait a minute. Yes, you are. You are the body. You are the individual. You are that. But not only that. This is where my teaching is a little more refined, perhaps. You are not only the body. You are not only your history. You are not only your thoughts. You are only everything. You are only everything. How do we intuit that about ourselves? Go in the universe and find a place where the universe is not the universe. Point to something that's not you, in the same way as point to something in the universe that's not the universe. But what allows us to point to the universe is something outside of perception itself. There's that relative location that gives us a chance to understand ourselves. The so-called false self is the self. I'm the perpetrator, the culprit. There's a wonderful poem, and I should have done my research before doing this video. It's by that Vietnamese monk who passed away recently. I can't pronounce his name. It's like Thich Nhat Hanh or something like that. Forgive me if you know who I'm talking about. He wrote a poem. I am the refugee who was raped, who killed herself, jumped into the water. I am the rapist. I'm the perpetrator. I am the worst of the worst. I am the source. And there is only one source. I am that. I am. So there's nobody to blame, nobody to curse. There's no steering wheel in the universe to find, to control it. I don't remember how I started the universe. I have forgotten that I am the universe. You see? When you piece 2 and 2 together, it puts you in absolute silence. Like, whoa, I'm all of it. I'm all of it and more. I can't quite understand myself, but I know that I am the source. And there's a certain liberation that comes with that, a certain peace of mind, a certain detachment, a certain innocence, blamelessness that comes with that. When you do something, okay, when you create something, you're leaving behind a trail, you can go back and use your memory to your advantage and use it constructively, friends. You can go back and say, you know what, I did those harmful things, yes. But you can be like a writer and go back and say, all right, you know what, I can do this next time I find myself in this scene. I can maybe do it better. That's using reaction in the same way that a director would react to a scene. Okay, friends, let's do that again. This time, let's not, whatever. Life allows you to be a constructive critic of your own artistic products, your cooking, your appearance, your actions. That's what appears as an improvement. Allowing yourself to be a constructive critic of your life so that you don't have to keep replaying these scenes over and over again. This is what helps you hop off of the karma wheel. Removing this, limited old human. No, you get to be in the production arena. Like the director, the production, you get to back up and be part of the bigger picture at this level of understanding. So yeah, I can go back and look at my videos, but I will do it. I'll take some notes and say, Ryan, you might want to do this a little bit differently, and you do it with a certain amount of compassion with yourself. And when I go back and read my writing, I can feel good about erasing it all. Because I'm also the writer. I'm all of it. And I can read it, and this is when it's really fun. When the writer is satisfied, the reader is satisfied, the editor is satisfied, and the critic is glowing. All right. All of this stuff is working together. I'm in alignment. I'm in alignment with myself. I can forget, but I can also appreciate what I've done. Oh wow, it's cool. Created this moment, or I am creating this, or it appears as though I am. And I'm pleased. I'm pleased. Get it? So I'm the source of that pleasure. It's not what I've created that gives me the source. It says that all of these roles are pleased. The critic is pleased. The observer is pleased. The creator is pleased. I'm in alignment with myself. Even though I've forgotten how I did it, I don't know. I just know that it's honest. And there is only one source. I hope that you found this helpful. Something very deep to think about. And thinking is okay. Thinking is wonderful. Thinking is a creative act. Thinking does not cause suffering. The source, that what you are, getting closer to the source, seems to relieve the suffering. That's all. You got to play Sherlock and be real suspicious first. And think that something's out there. And you start becoming suspicious of what appears as an outer source. There is only one source. I am. And that's who we are. Even though we appear different. Okay, friends, I hope you enjoyed my insights today. If you have, please check out my blog. It's called mymorningmotivator.com. And we'll see you guys next time. My name is Ryan Hebert.